Hello and welcome to the Planetpearl podcast. My name is Perlin and this is a podcast about knitting, crochet and all the crafty things I make from my home in Christchurch, New Zealand. If this is your first time visiting my channel, I want to say welcome to my craft space. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Thank you so much for continuing to support me. I'm grateful for every like, every comment and every subscriber I get. I'm so happy to have a little community. I so appreciate you all. It has been a couple of months since I podcasted. March was a really hard month for all of us in Christchurch with the mosque shootings, and with April I was hoping to do a podcast, but then school Easter holidays came along and things got busy over here in my home. But I was working on a sample blanket throughout April and I was hoping to finish it and show it on the podcast, but I filmed yesterday and before taking the blanket back, but it did not work out well. All the footage was so blurry and I had to reshoot today, so I'm not able to show my finished object, the only one and the big one, but I will insert a picture for you all to have a look at. The thing that I wanted to say was, as I was working blanket, I was using a lot of stitch markers, but then I found out that when I used stitch markers like these ones, they kind of snagged the yarn and pulled at it. So I learned that the simple round ones work better for that blanket, and I used touch yarn for it, and touch yarn 100% merino with 4.5 chargo needles. Apart from that, I did take a couple of other classes from which I have finished objects, and the first one that I took was the Tuahiwi skincare botanical skincare workshop, which was a very interesting and educative workshop. We learned to make skincare products from natural herbs and oils, and it was a fun class. We enjoyed, and I have a vlog of that class in my channel. If you check it, you can find them. And at that class we made a face oil, a body oil, and then a body scrub, and then we made a face mask. This is a face exfoliant. We made a face exfoliant and a face mask, and they all smell heavenly. They're so good. And the fun part of this was to make products that were suitable for our skin and with essential oils that we felt drawn towards too. And then we got to write down all the products that we used, all the oils and all the herbs and flowers and things like that we used in our products, and the measurement too. We got to write them down, and so that we can make them again if you want to. So that was a really interesting class. We got to tour their garden. All that is in my blog. Please don't forget to check it. And when I came back home, my son was so in love with the face oil and the body oil, and he used them most of the time, and he likes to use face cloth with them, and he loves the face cloth that I make. So I made him a few. I still have to weave in the ends, but these are the face cloth. This is one. The pattern is from the Knitpick site. It's called the Slant Dishcloth, I think. I will put the name on the screen. So this is one. I made them with drops cotton and 100% cotton yarn and 4.5 chagu needles. So this is one, and this is another one, and then I have another one with mustard, and another one with a dark shocking hot pink. So I did not follow the pattern entirely. I wanted to have my own spin to it, and so I did the slant only until a few rows, and then I did the plain. I did the other common color that I used for the other dishcloth, and so I have a set, and I was slant only until a few rows, and then I did the plain. I did the other common color that I used for the other dishcloth, and so I have a set, and one I had one more in blue as well, but my son started using it, so he I just asked him to leave these aside so that I can show on my podcast. So those are some washcloths that I made for him, and then I made another wash cloth. This was made when Amber of Yarn Hoarder podcast had a yarn dishcloth challenge. So I made this when that was happening. I think it was last year, and this as well. This is a basket weave pattern. I can't remember what pattern it is, but I used the sugar and cream yarn for this and for this, and I used the 4.5 mm shagu needles as well. The shagu needles is my favorite needle to use, and the 4.5 is my standard size. Usually I try to use that size for almost all my projects, so for shawls and for everything. And the next class that I took was soy candle making class. Autumn and winter are kind of a scary season for me. I grew up in a tropical country and we lived in Kuwait, so I am not so used to the cold weather, and when the skies are dull and gloomy and raining like it is today, I like to have candles around me and lights and soft blankets so that I can get through the cold and all that, although it is not cold in my home at all, but the weather just pulls me down, so I like to have candles around me. When I saw on Facebook about the soy candle making workshop, I signed up immediately. And this workshop was really fun in the sense that we had almost all the things that we need were available there. We didn't have to go and scout for soy candle flakes or anything. Everything was available there, and when we went to the class, the candle was melted. All we had to do was take our containers, and so that's what I did, and we could choose the fragrance oils that we wanted to use, and we learned how to make candles. It was so fun and so easy, and at the end of the class we got to take 3 candles and so make candle melts, which I was not very interested in. I'm more fond of candles than candle melts. So the first one I made is this. This is a cup that Jacob, my husband, got for me I love tea, and the first thing as soon as I wake up is go straight to the kettle and start making my tea. And so when he saw this at a store, he said it reminded him of me, and so he got it for me. But this cup is not microwave safe or dishwasher safe, and so I didn't want to break it, and so I was using it as a pen holder for some time, and I thought I'll use this as a candle so that I can have around. Fragrance oil that I used in this is gardenia and pear. So and then inside we could use dried flower petals. So I have a few hydrangea petals and rose petals in them, and it smells really good. And the second one I made is, the fragrance that I used for this is called Black Orchid, I think. Yes, it is Black Orchid, and I wanted to have a marbled effect, and a marbled effect in the middle, if you can see. And again in this I used dried rose petals. So that is another one that I made. And the third one, and my the most interesting one, is this ombre candle that we made, and that I made with the help of Mary, my tutor. And the vlog of this candle making class is also in my vlogs. Do check that out. Fragrance that I used for this is called Dragon's Blood. It is a lovely spicy scent. My works in progress. I started on sock. After the first pair of socks that I finished, I wanted to start another one. So I started another sock pattern. This is the simple, the regular, I think it's the vanilla sock. Yeah. So, and I invested in knit prosing DPNs, and I'm really enjoying these needles, because for the first project I used the bamboo needles, and they were a little blunt in the front, and it seemed like a little bit of an effort to get through, whereas on these needles they just slide through and make it easier to work. I have worked up until here, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm using Opal Regia yarn. I'm not sure of the color, because this was a yarn which I started in the beginning, and then I frogged it, and I'm making the another one. So this is in my brick. For this has postcards in it. I don't know how many people of the younger generation know about these postcards, but these remind me of my grandfather, who used to live in a nearby town when we were young, and every week we would get a postcard with all the news from our town, with all the news from our family, relatives and everybody, and it was always this kind of postcard. So it reminded me of him, so I wanted to have that. And then for the bottom I have used Essex linen, I think, and it is lined, and inside I have used cursive letter fabric, which I got in Kuwait a long time ago. So that is my first work in progress. Second work in progress is another shawl, and I'm making this with a local yarn designer called Revive Designs, and this yarn is called Red Power, and I'm using a 4.5 Knit Pro Symphony for this shawl. This shawl was a class that I took with my friend for shawl shaping class. So this pattern is designed by Linda Green of the Natural Star Designs, another local designer from Christchurch. And so this is how far I have come. This is a very interesting and very relaxing pattern. It's interesting, at the same time very easy, and it doesn't take a lot of mental work to do it. So I'm enjoying this a lot. So this is my second work in progress, and I intend to work on these two for some time now, because I'm getting ready for Wool Feast. I'm going to be a vendor there, and I'm making bags for it. To be my first craft experience. I'm really looking forward to it. Feeling nervous as well. Stash enhancement. I have a couple of things to show. So when I went to return the blanket to my craft store, they have moved to a town close to Christchurch. So I decided to go to the town and give the blanket to her and have a look around the town and come back. So I've always enjoyed knitters stuff with knitting, knitters sayings and things like that. And so when I saw this cup, I wanted to get it. So it says knitter, I prefer yarn goddess, which is very true for me because I love yarn. And then as I was walking around the town, I saw another yarn shop and I decided to go and have a look inside. And when I went there, I saw knitting opal yarns and Nako, which I have seen in Kuwait but not here. And so I was so excited, and so I decided to get the yarn. This lady was also very friendly, and I got two. One in a bright. I was tempted to try this. I wanted to see how it works up, and then I saw another one called Nako Boho. And so I got these two, and I cannot wait to finish this and start with these two. So all from my side today. I'm so happy that you came to spend some time with me. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.